What's up guys, my name's Morettin, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about this very cool Jackson RR24, but specifically the bridge, if you could see it in here. So obviously this guitar is fitted for a Floyd Rose and came with a Floyd Rose from the factory, but the person that owns this guitar asked me if I can put in this bridge. And this piece of hardware, which looks very cool, is actually a bridge called the Sophia bridge, and it's made by a company called Coherent Sound and Light. And this is kind of the ultimate Floyd Rose, or at least the Denali of Floyd Roses. It does a lot of different things and has a lot of different options and features depending on how you spec these bridges out. So I'm going to talk to you guys about this bridge and my own thoughts and opinions working with the bridge and actually playing the bridge as, installed in this guitar. So by the end of this video, hopefully you'll be able to figure out if maybe Floyd Roses, or at least this Floyd Rose, will solve your own issues of maybe liking or disliking Floyd Roses or not. So stick around and let's get right into this. So, as I was just saying, this bridge is made by a company called Coherent Sound and Light, and they're an American-based company, and basically they've just made the ultimate Floyd Rose, or the ultimate floating bridge. And as you can see here, as I'm going to see, maybe if my camera will focus, you can order this bridge in many different options, okay? So the one that this has is the 292, and it also has the drop feature on it, which we'll talk about in a second here. And it also has a couple nicks and tricks on the back of the block as well that will actually improve the overall tuning stability and actual functioning of the bridge itself. So just a quick overview and quick shot of it. It doesn't have the traditional Floyd Rose saddles and everything like that. You actually can feed the strings right through the back here, just like a headless guitar, or you can feed the strings through the bottom of the guitar, but I strung them through the back here. But the one downfall for that is if you are kind of crazy like me and you want a 7-string with a Floyd Rose and you want to tune it all the way down like I do with my 1 7-string, it's in F sharp, you can only fit string gauges up to 60 gauge or so around this on these guitars. So if you're crazy like me and you want to have a 7-string in drop F sharp with a Floyd Rose, this is probably not for you. But if you want to have a regular guitar like this one in drop B with an 11 to 54 set on, that's going to work just fine. Just same with any other strings lighter or just a little heavier than it. Okay. On the back here, let's take a look. It's a standard Floyd Rose setup here. We got the claw and the springs. There's also this little part down here. You can see the thumb screw on it, and if you look even closer on it, I'm going to see if I can try to get it on camera here. There's these little pistons that are in there as well, which we'll talk about in just a second. So that thumb wheel there, that's actually to adjust the whole tuning of the guitar when you have it strung up and everything, which is really cool, where you can actually just tune that instead of unlocking the nut here and tuning there, or making all your adjustments down here on the fine tuners as well. And actually the pistons on the back, it's kind of hard to see, those actually act as like a 0 point for the guitar, for the bridge to kind of return to normal. So if you want to think about it like shocks on a car, when you go over a bump, your car does that and it comes back to a normal point. So if we think about that on a guitar perspective, the more we do like this or up, we move the bar in the bridge down or up, the bridge will always come back to and hit, using those shocks, will hit the body of the guitar and come back to like a neutral point. So it's always going to be there. And if you have a Floyd Rose, and if you've ever used one a lot, you're going to notice that the bridge will either be down or be up from lots of heavy use. And then you have to retune the guitar, set the bridge up again, maybe adjust the claws and everything. It's kind of annoying. So this is really cool how they've kind of incorporated that, to give you kind of like an easier time dealing with Floyd Roses, because I know a lot of people don't like Floyd Roses because there's a lot of moving parts on them. A lot of people think they just go out of tune, and they're just kind of hard to maintain. And that's fair, but if you learn them, they're pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And I think this bridge actually makes the learning curve, or at least diving into a Floyd Rose a little easier, I would say. So yeah. This one also has the drop function on it as well, right there. That allows you to go from a standard tune guitar all the way to a drop tune. So this is in C sharp standard. And with a little bit of a flick and flicking the dial there, I can just turn this guitar into drop B, which is pretty sweet. So I can get 2 different tunings out of one guitar, rather than a Floyd Rose where you generally have it set up for one tuning, and if you tune the guitar down, the whole thing is out of tune. So this is pretty cool, and the whole guitar actually does stay in tune as well. Also the tremolo bar here, it's on a collar as well. it's not just thrown in there and you kind of screw it down and you hope for the best, but this is actually threaded and it's a real tight fit, so it's actually not going to go anywhere. So that's very cool as well. When you feed the strings through the back here, you're just going to go through like you would maybe on a headless guitar if you have ever strung a headless guitar, but otherwise you just kind of feed it through normally. It's a little awkward at first, but these little locks here, right where I'm pointing, you got to clamp them all the way down once the string is through. That's what holds it down, actually. So it's kind of like the blocks that are in the Floyd Rose saddle. So you clamp the string down right there, and then it holds. And then you lock the nut as you normally would on a normal Floyd Rose as well. I also want to mention the other very cool thing about this guitar is the intonation screw is right here. You just loosen it, boom, move the saddle back or forward, lock it, and you're done. Which is super easy. I honestly thought this was easier than just like a hardtail bridge or a tone or like a string through tuna mat. Do I find it easier than a regular Floyd Rose? Maybe a little bit, but I do find it a little awkward though. Like, there's only so much room that you can move these saddles back and forward before you actually have to take the bridge out, then bring it all the way back as well. The saddles are on a bit of a, like they're on a fixed like position, so basically you gotta dive the bar down or loosen all the strings, remove the bar, or remove the bridge, and then there's a little Allen screw on the bottom. Unscrew it, move the saddle back even further to reposition it, then you can move it back again. So I found that a little annoying when trying to intonate this guitar. I mean, unless I'm doing it wrong, but that's what the company has told me to do. And I do need to mention though, their customer service, when I hit them up on Instagram just for a couple just a couple questions about the bridge to make sure I was installing it right, super awesome, super great. You know, this isn't a sponsored video or anything. They kind of don't really know who I am, but I thought that was really fantastic of them. They were just on it, and just like all the information and all the resources needed to make my time with this a little bit more enjoyable was fantastic. So highly recommend that aspect about them as well. So let's get to playing. Okay, here we go. I got the RR24 with the Sophia 292 bridge with the drop tune function on it. And we're just going to kind of noodle around here. I'm in C sharp standard with 11s to 54s on it. We're just going to see what happens. So here we go. Pretty sweet. This feels really good as well too. Like, even though it has 3 springs in the back, kind of all pointing to the front there or the middle, feels good. You know, it's not too firm, not too stiff or anything. I mean, I've played some Floyd Roses in the past where the spring function and like just how the claws are set up and everything really affects like the overall feel. But this feels really good right out of the box, just with like 3 springs on it in C sharp standard. So now we're going to tune the guitar down. So we're going to use the drop function. Right now I'm in C sharp standard, as you just heard. We're going to go and hit that little switch there, whatever you want to call it. We're going to go and make it point all the way down. Then we're going to go into drop B from C sharp standard. So here we go. sounds pretty good, and it's in tune, which is really good. So that'll probably save you a lot of time, like especially if you want to use this in an actual live setting, where you can just flick a switch or flick this mechanical function, and the whole thing will drop down a whole tone, will give you from drop B or like drop tuning to standard and vice versa, which is super awesome, you know. So I really like that about it too, and it holds, which is super great. Poor attempt at the ultimate riff of the year, in my opinion. Alright, so that was kind of like a quick demo of the Sophia 292 bridge from Coherent Light in Sound. And you know, final thoughts and opinions on this. I think this is a really great piece of guitar hardware and technology and advances in the actual guitar industry as well, especially for Floyd Roses, because it seemed like the last real breakthrough for that was when the Floyd Rose came out, and you know, in the 1980s, and it seems like the only other crazy advance we have on the guitar bridge has been the Evertune since then, which has like been 30 or maybe almost 30 years past when the Floyd Rose came out. So this is a really great product as well. It feels great. You know, I think a lot of the features are really cool. They can be intimidating for sure, you know, especially when you have a thumb wheel like this and like a giant brass block, and titanium as well. And the pistons and everything in the back. It could be a little intimidating for some people, but if you have experience with the Floyd Rose like I do, I thought this was really awesome. The pistons in the back, you know, with my whole shock example, like it shocks in a car, coming back to that neutral point after you're using the bar, I think it's fantastic. And I honestly don't know why other companies aren't doing that with their blocks as well. I think it's awesome. Yeah, my only real pain, you know, is just the intonating part of it. I thought that was a little bit of a pain, you know, but maybe these strings need to be bumped up so they can intonate a little easier, so I don't have to take the bridge off the guitar again and then move the saddles back even further, like through the underside, you know. So maybe that, but maybe we can fix that issue by putting a little bit of heavier strings on it for the tuning if you're tuning it a little lower. Feeding the strings through the back here. If you've ever used like a string through body and you're trying to string it through, you know it can be annoying. It's kind of annoying as well, but you know, is what it is. You know, nothing's perfect in life. You know, it's the same thing as trying to string up a Floyd Rose and trying to deal with that maybe for the first time. You know, so it's a give and take for sure. But obviously, I think this is kind of the next best, you know, Floyd Rose that's kind of out there in my opinion. I'd love to get my hands on a multi-scale Floyd Rose or a multi-scale Sophia Tremolo, sorry about that, and because they do offer that, and I think that'd be really cool because the only real brand that does that is not really a floating trem, if you guys know that one. So yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that one out, and otherwise I wouldn't mind trying maybe a couple more of these in some of my guitars just to see how they fare up in some of the other ones that maybe could use a new bridge on them. But yeah, otherwise I think it's great. Probably within the ballpark of the price of maybe an original Floyd Rose or like a Schaller. You know, they're kind of expensive, but you know, you get what you pay for. This is pretty awesome stuff here. So yeah, definitely consider them. And obviously not a sponsored video. They don't really know who I am. You know, I'm just some guy who needed help and hit them up on Instagram, and they asked for some pictures and stuff. So I said sure, and I'll throw up a video. So yeah, not sponsored or anything, just kind of showing you guys about this bridge because they're kind of uncommon. So if you like this video and maybe your opinions on Floyd Roses have changed, give me a thumbs up or consider subscribing, or even drop a comment and tell me what you think about this bridge or floating bridges in general, what your experiences have been with them. And if you like anything else that I do, I got tons of other videos on my channels, from like Pantera covers to other sorts of covers and everything like that, and other gear demos. And also I'm going to link all my bands below, Sleep Terror and The Vilification, both working on new music right now. And otherwise you can hit me up on my social medias, we can hang out there, and otherwise I look forward to reading your comments and seeing what you got to say about these things. Alright, thanks for watching, hope to see you in the next one. Take care.